Hello everyone, welcome to Keeping It LCFC drive time. Right, let's talk about last night. Leicester City 0, Manchester City 1. I'm going to start on the positives, okay? I thought actually we gave a lot of effort and determination in that game, which we didn't, I don't feel, in the first game against Man City. We battled really hard, and actually I agreed with Brendan about we were actually a threat throughout the game. We did create chances, not necessarily brilliant ones. Obviously the Vardy one-on-one and the Vardy volley I would put down as, you know, really good chances, the one-on-one especially, and he's done, you can't say he's done everything right because he's missed, but he's done 98% of what he had to do there, 100% bang on. The run is superb, the pass is brilliant, just, you know, the finish is slightly out, it's slightly off, and that's just the way it's going at the moment for Vardy. He just sort of needs that goal to kick him back into life, to kick the whole team back into life, really. The fallout of Vardy's drop-off in goals has coincided with Leicester's drop-off in league points return. So we created chances in that game, couple of set pieces, couple of options, and again it was just that final ball a little bit, we just couldn't quite get it right sometimes. Remember the pass from Maddison into Iheanacho in the first half, and he's gone to control it with his left foot rather than his right, which is insanity to me. If he brings that down in his right, he's in on goal. And 100%, in my opinion, we should have had 2 penalties. I'm going to come to that later on. But I feel overall, we were much better against that Man City side than we were just before Christmas, when we were an absolute shadow of a football team that day. I don't think we were anywhere near where we wanted to be, but we got close to City yesterday. We hassled them, we harried them. They've got a team of world-class footballers. Okay, now there's people I've seen on Twitter last night, and I know Twitter is an absolute hive of negative energy when there's defeats. A lot of people use it as their outlet for frustration, for disappointment. A lot of stuff gets said in the heat of the moment on Twitter. But there was a lot of negative comments made in relation to the performance. I just don't think you can question the overall performance of the team yesterday. They did everything right except a lapse in legs and concentration, which allowed Mahrez to travel 40-45 yards in possession after they took a quick throw in. It was frustrating because we had worked really hard. I thought Dennis Pratt was absolutely incredible in that midfield position next to Tielemans. I think he had an okay game yesterday, Tielemans. I've seen him play better, I've seen him play worse. He was able to sort of have a slight impact on the game, not as much as we would have liked, but against Man City, we've got to accept that Man City have got a team of world-class footballers. That's just the nature of Man City. That's who they are. That's what they've got. I mean, if you go through their starting 11, you've got Ederson, arguably one of the best keepers in the country, if not the world. You've got Aymeric Laporte at centre-back, who everyone's been saying how poor Man City are defensively without him. Yesterday they had him back. Fernandinho is a great reader of the game. No, he's not a centre-back, but he's a great reader of the game. And you'll notice actually that Man City changed to a back 3, which allowed Fernandinho to sit a lot deeper, which did nullify the Vardy threat in behind, but we did manage to expose it a couple of times. Kyle Walker, I wouldn't say is world class, but he's very good and effective, and he's got that pace to get him out of trouble, which he uses to good effect. And he did use to good effect a couple of times during the game. Then you're looking at Gundogan, you're looking at Rodri, you're looking at Mahrez, De Bruyne, Aguero. Like, they have got a team full of superstar players. That's the nature of it. They've got better players than us in an overall situation. Do I think there's individuals that we have in our team that arguably could match up to a few of their players? Yeah, 100%. But we've also got players in our team that don't get near theirs in terms of ability. Good players, yes. Players able to compete on a level individually with Man City players, no. And we have to accept that. That's where we are. We're not a Man City yet. We may never be a Man City. We may never be able to bring in 22 world-class international footballers. Do we need to improve? Yes. Were we good yesterday? Yeah, we were pretty good. And let's not forget, we didn't have arguably one of our best players we've got on the pitch today in Wilfred Ndidi. we didn't have any defensive midfielder at all. And actually, I don't think we suffered for that. I think arguably it did allow us to be a bit more creative going forwards. And what it also did for us is having the two up front, which actually I think was a really good idea from Rodgers. And when Kelechi and Iheanacho went off, actually, we lost a lot of this. Kelechi was a great outball for us yesterday. Because of the threat of Vardy, and I think Brendan probably recognised it, and actually it's a really, really good piece of tactical management. He knew that Man City would double up probably on Vardy, because they know that Vardy's the threat, which would have allowed Iheanacho to be left one-on-one. And actually we saw that a good number of times. Iheanacho was able to get those, sometimes a lucky ricochet, because somebody was trying to go to tighten him, but there was a number of times, 3 or 4 times in that first half, where actually Iheanacho was able to receive the ball, get a touch on it, get a turn on it and be in. He doesn't have the pace of Vardy, but he was able to get us up the pitch. He's got better hold-up player feel than Vardy, and having him up front with Vardy occupying 2 defenders really, really allowed Iheanacho to be that second striker, to get them one-on-ones, which did create us a number of chances. Losing Iheanacho to a knockout punch from Ederson really, really took a lot of our game plan away. Harvey Barnes did not offer the same threat level that Iheanacho did, not even close. I don't think that's Harvey Barnes' fault, but we definitely suffered a lot after Iheanacho went off. I thought we had a really, really good game yesterday. A couple of little errors that I mentioned earlier about going at a ball with his left foot rather than his right foot, to try and control one where Maddison played him through. But losing him definitely took away a lot of what we had potentially going forwards. I thought the midfield worked incredibly hard, really, really hard. The three of them together worked very hard. Tielemans actually was able to get in and intercept and win balls back quite a few times in and around the edge of the box. We did a very, very good job defensively, great organisation, and a massive, massive effort was put in by the lads. And that's why I can't fault them. I can never fault a team that tries their hardest, and they did genuinely put everything into that game, I think, and you could see that from the goal that Man City got in the end. The legs just went a little bit. Fuchs got kind of sucked in away from the back 4. He wasn't able to get back. Tielemans wasn't able to get there. Chilwell being caught upfield. It was a quick throw in. It was well worked from Man City. You can't argue with that, and they've got players that are able to do that. Mahrez running through. Jesus was fresh. He just found that little pocket of space, just onside. Not arguing with it as being offside, onside. It was definitely onside. He's just onside, and he finishes it nicely. Schmeichel's had a great, great game as well. They put in a massive shift. In terms of another comment I saw last night on Twitter, it was a tactical comment about James Maddison, our best number 10, playing so deep. And actually, I thought Maddison played really well yesterday. He sort of played more of a similar role to that we see of Jack Grealish on a more regular basis, that picking the ball up deep to try and kickstart attacks, and actually did a really, really good job at it. He worked incredibly hard off the ball. He was getting into good positions as well in possession to receive that ball deep. Now, as a team, we set up deep overall, so he had to be deep. He was always going to pick that ball up in deep positions, but he's good enough. And the plan there was to get him involved in the game. If you play him in a standard number 10 role, for me, he would have been so isolated. He never would have got the ball. He would have been absolutely ineffective. Yes, we want to see Maddison higher up the pitch. He's more of a threat. He's more dangerous higher up the pitch. But yesterday, we saw him be able to really have an effect on the game from a deeper position. And I can't say that I'm not disappointed in that. I thought we had a very, very good game from that slightly withdrawn, deeper role. And on another day, we win that game. We go 1-0 up through the Vardy finish. You know, it's inches. It's a matter of inches. It's slightly wrong. It's a bounce off the turf. It's a gust of wind. It's anything. He's almost, we could have gone 1-0 up. And let's come on to it. The 2 penalties that I feel we should have had. Now, one I can't see is anyone's ever going to argue with me about it, and it's the Kevin De Bruyne handball. Okay, for me, it was handball anyway, regardless of natural or unnatural position, regardless of letter of the law. The fact of the matter is, that ball's not going to hit him in the face because he's turned away from it. Okay, that ball, if he didn't have his hands up, gets in between him and the next man in the wall because he's turned away from it. Okay, he's put his hands up, turned his head away, and effectively squeezed that ball in between himself and I think it might be Rodri, the next man in. It's 100% handball, 100% handball. And again, just like Nakamba a few weeks ago, the VAR haven't even looked at it. They've not gone to it. They've not asked the question. It's a blatant handball, and they've not given it. And at the time, it's bad enough. You're frustrated they haven't looked at it. Okay, and you know they're going to bring out the, oh, he's protecting his face argument. Okay, you know they're going to bring that out. But to have the technology of VAR and to not even check, to not even look at it, to not even say, can you just have another look at that? It's hit his hand. Can we see it? Can we go to the monitor? Can we get any information from VAR whatsoever? No, apparently not. They just didn't bother. They did not bother on a massive decision in a game between second and third in the Premier League that means a lot to us. Okay, because we're trying to get into the Champions League, to not even check it. It's a disgrace. Honestly, I was so angry yesterday. I'm trying not to swear on a video. I was so angry yesterday that they didn't even bother to check it, to look at it, especially later on in the game when they give a handball, which VAR was very quick to check. Very quick to check. About 1 million times they checked it. They couldn't wait to give it against us. They couldn't wait to give the penalty to Man City. And I get it, Pratt's arms are away from his body, okay? I'm not arguing that letter of the law, that's a penalty against us. I'm not questioning the fact that they gave a penalty against us. What I'm questioning, what makes me so angry about the level of officiating which we've brought up in previous videos is it's disgusting how poor it is. It's awful. It's absolutely shocking that it can be allowed to carry on going. And the VAR thing's an entirely separate conversation because the guy that was VAR for our game had already admitted he made a mistake despite being able to watch a replay X amount of times in the Chelsea-Tottenham game not to send Giovanni Lo Celso off. He's admitted he got it wrong. He missed it. They messed up. There's 3 of them in that room, okay? They look at that and they've not seen the Lo Celso red card and they've then been allowed, because there's not enough match officials, or there's just not enough good ones. I'll tell you now, these ones we've got aren't good enough. That he's been allowed to get to be VAR again on a game later that day. And again, he's messed up. I really want to swear. I really want to go full in on this, but I'm trying not to. So there's the first one, the handball. Okay, it's handball. They've not checked it. The second one, and again, this was twofold for me. In fact, there's 3 points I want to make about this. If that's the challenge the other way around, and let's just say it's the same ball, Ederson gets there first, Iheanacho goes in, takes the keeper out, the ball gets rolled in, they're disallowing it. 100% they're disallowing it for a foul, regardless of who got there first. Now, I've seen so many arguments about, oh, actually, Ederson got a little touch in it before Iheanacho. All the steals I've seen, at the time I thought, that's 100% a penalty. It's dangerous. He's double fist punched him in the side of the head. Have a look at it. Have a look at it. He's on the floor. You've got time. You're not even wasting game time. You're not losing any match time. Because he's on the floor. Whether he was knocked out or not is irrelevant. The guy's on the floor. You've got time to look at this. There's a perfect opportunity to go to the monitor and have a look at it, to see actually, was he dangerous? Was it reckless? Did it endanger a fellow professional? Which you can't argue that it didn't. He's punched him in the head. And I'm not saying keepers can't go with their fist to punch the ball, but he has double punched Iheanacho in the head. Okay. Regardless of whether he meant it or not, he's put a fellow professional in danger. Now, if that's a tackle, okay, where a player wins the ball and he studs a player and he breaks his leg, he gets sent off. If it's a challenge and he goes in and the other player is put in danger by his challenge, he's penalised with a yellow or red card. The fact that it's a keeper who get protected above all else whenever there's anyone touches him in the box, and it's not given, and it's not even checked again. It didn't even look. And then at half time we lost Iheanacho, And as I mentioned before, he was our outlet ball. Iheanacho was superb yesterday at being our outlet ball, being our hold-up man, being in a one-on-one situation, because, like I said, I think Brendan set that up perfectly with those two up front, because they doubled up on Vardy, which left Iheanacho one-on-one. And when we lost Iheanacho at half-time, because he got double punched in the head, it wasn't a tactical change. Okay, it wasn't any other injury, it wasn't a tweak, it's because he got punched in the head and he was groggy and it wasn't safe to bring him back out. Okay, we've lost our momentum, we've lost our ability as a team to have that outlet pass. Okay, again, I'm absolutely fuming about it. It's an absolutely disgraceful decision from the match officials at the time, because I just think, on gut decision, you think he's wiped him out there. Look at him, he's on the floor, he's not, do you know what I mean? You at least give the penalty and then let VAR review it, but to not give it and then for VAR to not even bother to check it, it's an absolute shambles. Honestly, the officiating in this country is a mess, an absolute mess. We are the only country that VARs the way we do, and it's an absolute mess. And they're going to carry on with it, they're not going to change it, and they are killing football. One game at a time in the Premier League. I bet the Championship teams love it because there isn't VAR, and the Championship doesn't suffer. The quality of the football in the Championship's not suffering. The games aren't suffering because they haven't got VAR. The game is suffering because we have VAR. End of story. You ask the supporters of the other 72 league clubs in this country that don't have VAR week in, week out at their games, and they will say the game has not changed, they've not lost anything, they love it, they wouldn't change it. You ask the fans of teams in the Premier League and they'll all have a negative to say about it because it doesn't work, it's not very good, it's rubbish in the stadiums, it's an absolute joke in the stadiums, they've got no idea what's going on. You get the tannoy come over, checking for possible penalty, checking for possible offside, but it's a mess, you don't see it. You've got the screen by the side of the pitch which has never been used, pointless, might as well send them back to Samsung, whoever supplied them. It's a waste of time, it's an absolute waste of time. And the referees are, honestly, they're a mess. They're missing basic decisions, they're bottling things, and you would have thought when you bring technology in, you should be getting decisions right. You should be getting decisions right. And they're not. They're still getting them wrong, and they're getting obvious ones wrong. Week in, week out. And we weren't the only team to suffer with it yesterday. Yesterday, without a doubt, was the worst day of VAR decisions I think I've ever seen. You've got the Chelsea-Tottenham sending off. You got the two penalties we should have had against Man City. Or at least check them, because the handball one definitely gets given. If the Dennis Pratt one's given, then the Kevin De Bruyne one is definitely given. Okay? And the double punch in the head, I'm sorry, okay? I don't care if the keeper gets a touch on the ball. He wipes Iheanacho out. The referee has got to look at that. He's put a fellow professional in danger by his actions. He's out of control. If it's not a red or a yellow card, it's definitely a penalty. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess. And then I've not seen it yet, but there was one in the Burnley-Bournemouth game where Bournemouth went up the other end and scored. It's got ruled out and pulled back for a penalty all the way at the other end. It's an absolute shambles, VAR. I cannot get my head around it. I want it gone. It's the worst thing that's happened to football in such a long time. And I'm sorry, Arsene Wenger's new little tweak to the rule is not a solution, because having your back foot still technically onside puts you half a yard in front of the defender as an overall. There was still the other day of one for Harry Kane, I think, where his back foot's there, but he's a yard ahead of the defender. He's gaining an advantage, therefore he is offside, but that wouldn't be given. There's got to be a middle ground. You've got to change it, or just go back to letting the linesmen make the decisions. Let the linesmen do their job. They're going to make mistakes, and you have the video there for absolute blunders where you look back at it straight away and you go, "Ooh!" It only needs one replay for an obvious offside. One. That's all it needs. for an obvious, he's offside, you need one look. No lines, no Hawkeye, NASA lines being drawn on the screen. The angles are never straight either. You can never get a straight line look at an offside on VAR, ever. It's always slightly off to one side. How is that even possible? How is that even possible to allow that to be a thing? You don't get a straight look along it. They just make the lines up. They put them in there, and you're supposed to just trust that it's right because the computer says it's right. And computers have never made mistakes. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess. Next point. Matty James. Okay, now, I saw a tweet last night. Why is he bringing Matty James on with 10 minutes to go when we're losing 1-0 to Man City? Because the midfield's legs were gone. Absolutely gone. Pratt, Tielemans, Maddison to some extent, the legs were absolutely finished. You could see it. They were so heavy, they'd worked so hard as a midfield three because Man City moved the ball so well. And they had to work, and they had to work, and they had to work. He brought Matty James on to bring a little bit more legs in, and, I believe, a little bit of future planning. Now, Brendan Rodgers, he rates Matty James. And as far as I'm concerned, that's good enough for me. If the manager of our football club rates Matty James, and he's not the only one who's ever been manager of our football club to rate Matty James, then it's good enough for me. And the people slagging him off and disrespecting him and saying, oh, he's not going to be this, he's not good enough, he's absolute donkey, he hasn't played in this long. Honestly, you have no right to have that opinion on him. You can have opinions on players, I have opinions on players. But the fact of the matter is, it ain't your decision, it's the manager's decision. And if you back the manager, which as far as I'm concerned, everybody does, all I ever see on Twitter is, oh, he's one of our top managers ever. Which I think's definitely not true, but I've seen it said on Twitter. He's a good manager, Brendan Rodgers. He's done very, very well for this team. Let's not forget where we are with a squad that's not quite ready, I don't think, to be in the Champions League. It wasn't built to get in top 4 this season, that's for sure. But they're there, and they're there on merit. He knows what he's doing. If he wants to bring Matty James on, as far as I'm concerned, he can bring Matty James on, because Matty James is a central midfielder. We needed a little bit more legs in there. And actually, did Matty James make any mistakes while he was on? No, he didn't. So he didn't do anything wrong. He was okay yesterday, Matty James. Overall, I'm so proud of the way we played. On another day, we win that game. Man City have had a few chances. They've had their penalty, which Michael saved. Okay. He made a save very, very soon after with his feet. He's made a couple of really good saves in that game. But we've been effective there. Edison made a great save from a Maddison free kick. Kevin De Bruyne handballs one from a Maddison free kick. Kelechi Iheanacho gets wiped out from a pass over the top. Vardy has that volley, which, when things are going for Vardy, if he was in a little bit of a scoring run, let's say he wasn't desperate for a goal, that's on target, that effort for me. He puts that in, or he at least tests the keeper. But it's just one of them things. It's not going for Vardy at the moment. It's not quite working for him in terms of putting the ball in the back of the net. It'll come. We know how good Vardy is. We've seen it. We've seen how good Vardy is. It will come for him. So overall, it was such a positive performance from us. We competed with them. Were we on a level in terms of quality and possession? No, of course we weren't. But we haven't got a squad like Man City's. You can't be as good as Man City without players that are as good of what Man City have got. It's impossible. Yes, you can get them on an off day. You can perform above your levels on the odd occasion. Last season, for example, against Man City, we beat Man City. Individually, they were still better than us. Claude Puel, individually, was not a better manager than Brendan Rodgers, but he beat Man City. Brendan Rodgers hasn't. So you can't look at it like that. You have to look at it as a bigger picture. Man City are better than us. They have better players than us. Even their reserves are better than some of our first team players. That's a fact. That's how it works. That's how Man City operate. Okay? We have to accept it. Yes, we can beat them. Okay? And we've seen other teams, let's go with Wolves for example, take points off Man City this season. Okay? It doesn't mean that Wolves are better than Man City just because they beat them. That's not how football works. You are where you are in the league because you deserve to be there. We are currently third. We are behind Man City and behind Liverpool. Do you know what? Because we're not as good as them. We're not as good as them. But we've competed with everyone else. Okay, and actually, this time round against Man City and the first time round against Liverpool, we competed with them. The 2 other games against these 2 sides, we didn't compete. Tactically, we got it wrong. I called Rodgers out for it then. I would call him out for it again now. The 2 previous games against Man City and Liverpool, tactically, were all wrong. Yesterday, he got it right. But things just didn't go our way at all. The 2 penalties we should have had, Iheanacho having to go off injured, which, as I've mentioned a couple of times already, really killed our game plan because we didn't have that outlet ball. Barnes is great, but Barnes is not a striker. Barnes is not Kelechi Iheanacho. He does not hold the ball up as well. He doesn't offer an aerial threat. He doesn't have that attacking movement intelligence that Kelechi has. Okay, so losing that, it massively affected the game. Massively affected the game. Okay, another player actually I'm going to give a massive shout out to was Christian Fuchs, who I thought was absolutely brilliant yesterday. His covering of Ben Chilwell gave Ben Chilwell so much confidence to try and get forwards. Okay, that actually Chilwell had a really good game again yesterday. Get him forward. In the last game against Man City, Chilwell never got forward. He was so isolated at the back and he was getting absolutely destroyed by Man City down that right hand side. He didn't yesterday. He gave Kyle Walker more issues than Kyle Walker gave Ben Chilwell. Okay, and I think a lot of that was down probably to how good Christian Fuchs was at covering, how good the midfield 3 were at filling those little holes and just doubling up and trying to slow Man City down until Chilwell could get back. Like I say, tactically, I feel like we got it bang on yesterday. I don't know if there's anything we could have done tactically differently. Nothing. Arguably, could we have brought Perez on sooner? Maybe, but Perez, I don't know with Perez. Would he have changed the game with 10 minutes to go? Possibly. He gives you another attacking player, so maybe, but I'm just not sure it would have made that much of a difference. I just think tactically yesterday we did get it spot on, and the lads worked so hard. They did not deserve to lose that match yesterday. None of them. They worked their socks off. They gave everything. They deserved actually to get cheered off the pitch. I would have done. I'd have been clapping them off 100% because they deserved it. They were very good yesterday. They gave everything. I couldn't have asked for any more from any of them. It was one lapse in energy levels and concentration against a team as good as Man City's is. Okay? You can't afford it in a game against those teams because they'll punish you. And they did. That's what happened. But you can't, it happens in football and it will happen again. It'll probably happen more. We'll play worse than that and win games 100%. We move on now. We've come out of this one. We've got Norwich on Friday night. It's a massive game for us. I wouldn't put it down as a must win, but we've got to start winning football matches. We've got 11 games left. We're 6 points ahead of Chelsea. I think we're still 9 or 10 points ahead of Tottenham. We have to start winning football matches. We've got a little run of games now where we haven't got the massive sides in the country. They're going to be difficult games. Okay, we've got teams down there now that are going to be fighting for their lives, but we've got to start turning up. We've got to start winning football matches too because we're fighting for European qualification. We do not want to let that slip through our fingertips. This team got us this far. I believe in them to keep us going. Everyone has to believe in them. Back the lads to get there. They are good enough. They've proved it because if they weren't good enough, we wouldn't be third in the league. Simple as that. If this team wasn't good enough to get top 4, they wouldn't be third in the league. They've put on some really good performances this season. We've just hit a little bit of a blip. We've had some really tough games in there as well, which have affected us, I think, more than we'd like to admit. We've had a lot of really disappointing moments in those. The penalty against Liverpool, really late in injury time. We had the other penalty we should have got against Man City, where Ederson absolutely wiped Barnes out, which if that's in the middle of the park, then it's a free kick. because regardless of whether Barnes is getting the ball back, he's got the ball past him, and Edison's just wiped him out. It's a foul. We've had 2 hammer-ins against the 2 best teams in the division, in Man City and Liverpool. We've had the League Cup, the heartache of not getting a penalty in that game. We've had some really, really difficult moments in the last couple of months, in the last 10 or 12 games. Interspersed actually with some good results, the 2 wins against West Ham, the win against Newcastle. We're still in the FA Cup. This team is good enough to be where it is. It just, there's a little lack of confidence there, a little lack of rub of the green. Our centre forward isn't scoring goals. When you don't score goals, or enough goals, you can't win games. So there's little areas that just aren't really going our way at the moment. VAR is definitely not going our way at the moment. Our decisions against us, I mean, apart from the Wolves one the other day, which should have been a goal against, you could say that one went for us. But that's a letter of the law thing. So technically, that's not a wrong decision. The ones that just baffle me are the handballs and the decisions like that we're not getting. So we're not getting the rub of the green. Things aren't going our way currently, but I believe that this team will be okay. Just get behind us. They'll come good. We'll get, Chowdhury's going to be back for the next game if we need a defensive midfielder. I'd actually like to see us set up in a similar way to how we did yesterday, with no defensive midfielder. Just try the 3 lads in the middle, see how it goes. We need to start winning football matches, so hopefully we can do that. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, share. Thank you.